Step One Academy. I'm Dr. C. Please join me in this musical journey. Let's go! Hello everybody, I'm here with Paul Thornock, an organist with St. John Baptist Church in Savannah, my great friend. We played many times together in many different occasions. So I have him here today to tell us about the king of all instruments. Paul, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks.
I was always intrigued by this instrument because I actually have not get to know this instrument until I started studying music. Can you tell us how you end up playing organ?
Yeah, when I was a kid, there was actually an organ being installed in my family's parish church. Of course, this was way back in the 70s, and this beautiful organ was being installed, and I was a little kid, and I was completely taken by the sound of the instrument. And so that led to me studying piano, and then eventually, when I could reach the pedals, studying organ at the same time. Then, went off to college, and I had actually intended to be a school teacher. So as an undergraduate, I was doing organ performance and music education, and studying conducting. And then by the time I had done my student teaching as an undergrad, I thought, I really don't want to do this. So I went off and did a graduate degree in organ at the University of Notre Dame. Once you're connected to Notre Dame as a Catholic musician, your future is written for you. So I was off to a cathedral position in Columbus, Ohio, and I was there for 16 years. And then I finished my doctorate at Cincinnati College Conservatory. For a while, I was in Seattle, at the cathedral in Seattle. Luckily, we're now here in Savannah.
As a child, when you started playing piano, did you know that you're going to become an organist?
Every week you go to church and you hear the organ over and over and over again. And it was actually the organist of the church approaching me and saying, your piano skills are strong enough now. Maybe you should consider also taking organ lessons.
What would be a regular day of an organist in the church of St. John the Baptist?
I would like to say I spend the whole day practicing the organ and working on my trill, but that's just not reality. Church music jobs, particularly where you have a concert series and choirs and diocesan liturgies and all these things, they're pretty administration heavy. I do spend a lot of time in front of my computer doing things that are music related, but not making music.
You lead a chorus, right, as well?
Yeah, the cathedral choir has a really busy schedule, not just Sundays, but all the special events that happen here at the cathedral. You can think, in the life of Savannah, big things like St. Patrick's Day, the big Christmas concerts, all those sorts of things that we expect to have happen at the cathedral, and the choir is part of all that.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the instrument, maybe a little bit about the history of it, and of course, if you can show us how this whole thing works.
The organ has its roots really back in ancient Rome with a precursor instrument called the hydraulis. Over the centuries, the organ has become sort of synonymous with Christian worship. You know, even had taken little detours along the way where you find it in many concert halls, especially you know, now no concert hall in the world really is built anymore without including an organ, because there's a lot of repertoire for the organ and orchestra. In a lot of ways, the organ building kind of reached its zenith during the life of Bach. By about 1750, everything we need for a really beautiful organ was known technologically. So, you know, great organs, perhaps twice the size of what we have here at the Savannah Cathedral, were being built in the 1700s. It was sort of the NASA project of the day. It's not just an instrument. In a way, it's a building within a building that also has to make music at a very high level.
Can you show us how playing looks like from your vantage?
You can see here that this organ has 3 keyboards. In organs, often the key coverings are made from the bones of cow shins.
Oh, wow.
Of course, down here, there's a whole nother keyboard that you play with your feet. Then on each side, there are a number of these little white draw knobs that control individual sounds of the organ. Each one has a name, and there is an entire performance practice that, of course, you have to have memorized for your doctoral exams. Good organs are generally built in a particular national style. So this organ is rather on the German side, and the builder of the organ, Fritz Noack, was a German who moved to the United States and founded his own company in Massachusetts.
On those 3 manuals, the 3 keyboards that you have, I assume you set 3 different colors of sound?
Well, there's all sorts of crazy things that can be done. For example, you can be playing on the top keyboard like this, and you could be making a completely different sound on the middle keyboard. But then you can couple them together. You can see the keys are actually going down on the keyboard that you're not playing. And then you can do the same thing actually by playing on the middle keyboard. You can actually make all 3 keyboards play simultaneously. Can actually, you can play with your feet down here, and then you can play all 3 keyboards simultaneously.
You know, just on the funny side, these are not the bowling shoes. Those are shoes for playing organ.
There is a company in Connecticut that makes organist shoes. They're designed so that the underside is soft, and so you can feel where you are on the keys all the time. The heel is pretty serious.
Okay, because you actually use the toes and the heel interchangeably to play the notes, right?
Yeah, so if you're playing like this, you can be playing.
Awesome.
You actually play with your toes and your heels and both feet at the same time.
I gotta ask you, I mean, do you have a favorite composer?
I think in various national schools, there are certain composers that really stand out. In the French repertoire, going all the way back into the Baroque period, Grigny and Marchand. In the 19th, early 20th century, César Franck, which we think of as an orchestral and chamber music composer, was a really serious organist and is probably most responsible for the development of the French organ school. And then his student, Louis Vierne, who was for a long time the organist at Notre Dame Cathedral, wrote 6 symphonies for the organ. The organ music of Vierne is among, my really favorite stuff. And then, of course, in the German school, we have Bach and Buxtehude, Mendelssohn, who really helped develop the organ in England. And then think about people like Max Reger, who we think of for his chamber music and was incredibly important to the organ world. So these are pipes that just arrived a week ago from Portugal. They are replacing one of the reed stops in the organ. These actually come in pieces. Inside this boot is a large reed. In fact, let me take this apart and I'll show you. So you can actually see here the reed tongue against the shallot. It looks sort of like a large, let me move over here where it's a little darker. There you go. So it actually looks like a large reed, like you would see on a clarinet or something. When the air passes that reed, it vibrates, and then it goes up through the beginning of the resonator here. What you see then is attached to a large resonator that is about 8 feet long. If you hear this note alone, it just buzzes, but when you put the resonator on it, you get this big, long, warm, wonderful sound. These are all flute pipes. They actually function like a large whistle. This is the low side of the pedal, and you can see that those pipes are about 19 feet long. The air comes in through the foot, comes up to the opening you see there on either side of the ears, and goes past the lips and causes basically a whistle. And then the length of the pipe controls its pitch. The longest pipes are the lowest pitch, and the smallest pipes are the highest pitch. Some of the pipes inside the organ are smaller than a pencil and literally sound like dog whistles. They're very high pitched. And then other ones you actually don't hear, you just feel.
Those long ones, I assume, would be the ones that you're mostly playing with your feet?
Yeah, mostly, yes. On some organs, when you depress the key, it sends an electrical pulse to a little motor that pulls the valve down underneath the pipe. And that's a late 19th century, early 20th century change to the organ. This organ is much more like what Bach would have known. It's all mechanical. So when you depress the key, it moves a system of levers that pulls the valve out from beneath the pipe. You're perfectly timed here for the renovation because the organ is all torn apart. But here at the back of the organ, you can see the mechanism that is connected to the keys. Then that mechanism goes under the floor and goes all the way to the main case. You can actually go around the back of the organ and see how, yeah, isn't this crazy? Those weights are on a large set of bellows, and the weights control wind pressure in the organ. So that bellows is squeezing the air into the wind chests, and the wind chests are right here. And then the pipes stand on the wind chests, and the sound comes out through the mouths. This is looking through the front into the swell box, so you can see all the little pipes in there. The little vertical sticks you see are part of the mechanism that actually goes up to the upper levels. You can see them running horizontally up there. This is the mechanism that connects the middle and the bottom keyboards to the pipes at the top of the organ. There's a lot of music that requires the organ with orchestra, and actually you and I are going to play a few pieces in October that require the organ with violin. There's an enormous body of repertoire for organ and trumpet. The trumpet, being loud, is one of the few instruments that can kind of keep up with the organ in terms of sheer decibels. There's a lot of chamber music. There are actually organ concerti dating back into the Baroque period, where the organ is the featured solo instrument. All the Handel concerti. Mozart wrote a whole bunch of sonatas. There is a lot of concert music that involves the organ. In Europe, there are a lot of mechanical organs that are connected to clocks, like barrel organs and things like this, jewelry boxes that play their little tunes, but the music is actually provided by a small pipe organ. Haydn actually wrote some pieces for mechanical clock. I think that the organ is such a rare instrument. Being able to do this for a living requires an unbelievable amount of support. And so we're really lucky here at the cathedral that they take music very seriously. And the rector of the cathedral, Father Schreck, his mother was actually the organist here for more than 60 years. There's a long tradition here, and it's no small amount of pressure to be working for the son of the lady who was your predecessor for 60-some years. He's wonderfully supportive of really serious music here in the cathedral. We couldn't do it without him. My organist colleagues and my other musician colleagues here in town are so warm and welcoming.
And thank you so much for sharing this special moment with us where Cathedral is actually going through the renovation of organ. So Paul, thank you very much.
You. Thanks for being interested.
Thank you, absolutely.